we'll show you how to paint door hinges.
A great way to update a room or a house is to paint door hinges. We have actually done this in several houses that we've lived in. In this situation, I actually painted the door. So for that reason, I took the door off the hinges and painted the hinges. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to paint door hinges, and the same techniques and steps that you do just taking all the hinges off a door and painting them apply to what I'm getting ready to tell you about how to paint door hinges without removing the doors. So if you're not going to paint your doors, they're already the color you want. We moved in a house one time, renovated a house. I think it had, 16 doors, and the doors were already white, so we didn't want to paint them. They were in really good shape and looked good, but we did want to paint the hinges that I think were brass. And so instead of removing the doors, which is a lot of work, you need a lot of space to put the doors, we just removed one hinge at a time. So we went through the house and removed all the top hinges on the door, and the doors were able to open and close without a hinge. And we painted all those using the same strategies in which I'm going to show you in this video. And then once they dried and they were good, we put them back on, and we came and we removed all the middle hinges throughout our house and painted all those. Once they were dry, ready to reinstall, we did that. And again, we took all the bottom hinges off and repainted them. And you can, even if you're worried about the right hinge going back on the right door, you can mark them in some way, or just keep them, organized in a way that oh, this is the basement door, this is our closet door, this is the bedroom door. But most of the time, the hinges are pretty generic and go right back on the doors. I actually painted this door, these hinges, and a door in this. There's a bathroom back here, and did the same for it. And initially tried to keep up with what hinge was which door, and then just gave up, and it didn't matter. I put them all back on. They're all uniform. They all fit, no problem. So anyway, that's how to paint door hinges without having to remove the doors. And it works like a charm. So happy painting.
All right, I'm going to show you how to paint hinges. It takes a few stages because if you think about a hinge, you see it from many different points of view. So just to show you this one, when I open and close a door, you're going to see of this middle section, the actual hinge part, you're going to see it from multiple points of view. Once I removed them from the door, the other really important thing that I did was I cleaned them. I put them in a bowl of warm water and Dawn detergent and dish detergent and let them soak, and then I scrubbed them. I scrubbed them with a scrub brush. Actually used an old toothbrush in different areas to try to get off any grime and just paint. There are a few places that they had paint from previous paint jobs from people painting the door, and so I use sandpaper to kind of get some of that off. So I'm going to try to spray paint it from different angles so I get that edge on each one of them. But again, we'll do this in phases, so if I miss something, I can always come back and touch it up. All right, so we're going to lay them flat first and try that. And when you spray paint, it's always best to not linger, but to do kind of passes. And we're going to use this. Again, I like black flat. I'll start from this perspective. Again, just light strokes. It's always better to come back and do a second coat than it is just to linger too long. Okay, I'm gonna come from this perspective real quick so I can get these edges. Okay, and that's the first coat. All right. They have dried. Took about, 20-30 minutes. It wasn't that long. I'm going to flip them over. Okay, and again, just light strokes. Coming back. We have done both sides. I'm going to prop it up. So we're going to make a little triangle there with each one of them. I'm back for another coat. Flip over and lay them flat because there's a little bit, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little bit of brass showing through. So I'm gonna lay them. And from this point on, it's a little bit of, trial and error just to make sure you've got everything. And now for the fourth coat of paint. Now I'm going to show you how to paint the screws. I just took an Amazon box and I took my screws and I literally just pressed them in a little bit. We don't care about that part of the screw. We just care about the head of the screw.
We are ready to put our hinges on. So they are painted, all sides, open and closed. The top is the pin, and there's the pin for the door. So I just kept the hinges together. To me, it just works better that way. So now you got to pay attention to a few things. You have to understand the way the door operates. So when the door's closed, the hinge will be closed like that. If you open it the other way, as you can see, it does not go back to back. So this is how you want it when the door is closed.
There's another way to look at this too to understand how the hinge works. In the center of the hinge, the actual hinge where the pin goes through, there are 5, which I'm going to call tabs. If you take those apart, there will be 3 on one side and 2 on another side. The side of the hinge that has 3 tabs, that's the part that will be installed on the door frame. The side of the hinge that has 2 tabs, that will be installed on the door. And you can always orient yourself on the hinge because you know that the pin is at the top of the hinge. So now we're ready to install this side on the door frame.
And just make sure you're doing it the right way. So when the door closes, the hinge will be flat against itself. Okay? Oh, and when you hear that sound is when you're stripping the screw. So it's really important that you put pressure on the drill. First of all, I want to make this is in the indentation where the cutout is for the hinge. And I'm putting my body weight against it because when you hear that sound, it's because the drill bit has lost contact with the screw head, and that's what strips the screw, and then you can't use it. So you don't want to do that. We're making sure that it closes, so I do it the right way. So I'm going to put this in that section. I've recently painted the doors and the door frames. So I've got a little paint. I want to make sure it really goes in there so it is flush against the part that's carved out where the hinge is. Again, making sure I do it right. Making sure that when the door closes, this part needs to be against the frame. And this part is going to be against the door. The next trick is we're going to take the pin out and we're going to take this hinge out and that will go on the door. Now to get this out, I'm using a little nail punch. And I'm going to take and just tap to get this part out, get it loose. And I can see the pin, the head of the pin coming up. Pull that out. And then I just switch to a flathead screwdriver. Carefully put it under the head. Get it under there. There we go. And loosen it up and voila, pins out, hinges off. So remember, we want this to close. And so I'm going to put it just like that. So when that is attached, it will close just as such. And if you do need to touch up your screws or the hinges, you can do it with black flat paint, a little jar of black flat paint, a little artist brush, or you can do it with a black Sharpie. Kind of depends. All right, I think we're good there.
Reinstalling a door is easier with a helper. One person steadies the door to line up the hinges while the other person inserts the pins.
Tap it down a little bit.
Sometimes it's helpful to use a hammer to tap the hinges into alignment. Once the hinges are aligned, you can finish inserting the pins. Then use a hammer to tap down each pin.
I need to tap those others down. All right.
Click the link in the description for the corresponding blog post and for other related links. For other DIY home improvement projects, visit lifewithneelandsuze.com.